So you're feeling pretty lonely and you're feeling like you can't make connections with people. Like, even if you have friends, even if you go to social gatherings, even with your own family sometimes, you can feel like, yes, you interact, you exchange words, but you don't feel like there's a real connection of substance there. Well, that's alright. We can hang out. Let's talk about it. What's up, everyone? My name is Zacharias, and this is Thank You Universe. And thank you all so much for coming out today. Much love to all of my subscribers, or if you're a first-time viewer, who is totally gonna like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. But today we're going to talk about our connections with others and our loneliness. Because in today's modern age of technology, a lot of people are having trouble connecting with others because we have all this online interaction and texting and Snapchat and Instagram, but when it comes to real face-to-face, connected, deep, vulnerable interactions, a lot of us aren't having so many of those. And we're human and we're social creatures, so we do desire that and we do crave these real, meaningful interactions. So what a lot of it comes down to is our authenticity and our vulnerability. So a lot of people actually have trouble being their authentic self in front of people because we have all these social conventions and our experiences of how we learned that we should behave with others. And so we feel like we have to be polite, and a lot of us can be yes men or yes people, like we just want to be people pleasers and not cause any trouble and get out of people's way, right? So we're not being ourselves, we're just doing the whole social norm, like, hello, how are you doing? I'm good, how are you? And you're not really exchanging meaningful interactions with people because you're not being vulnerable, you're not being open to people, and you're not being yourself. A lot of times you don't even tell people what you actually think. Like, think about it. Going out in the world and not being open and not being vulnerable, it can kind of be like you're viewing the outside world. The real authentic you is just inside of you observing, but it's not using your body, it's not using your words to interact with others, and so you're just looking at people living their lives and things happen and you're not really expressing your opinions. You're just like, as long as I'm taking care of myself and I'm not in anyone's way and no one's like causing me bodily damage, then I'm not gonna say what I think to them. Because a lot of people just keep their head down and they're just like, oh, were you in line in front of me? Even though I was totally already here, you can go ahead. Even if you might be like, hey, I was totally here. But even something as small as that, like at the grocery store, you let people go in line and you can't just express, oh, I was actually here. And, it can seem silly and we can laugh about it, but a lot of people live their entire lives this way, not even expressing the very basic of their needs and not being open and vulnerable. Like, maybe you have people at school or people at work or just people you're around and you don't like them at all, but you're still super polite and friendly to them. And that doesn't mean you have to be like, hey, listen, I don't like you, I think you're trash. But you have to start expressing yourself in some way or you're not gonna make any connections. And being vulnerable takes a lot of inner strength, actually, because many people are not vulnerable because of emotional woundings that they have had growing up. So maybe you were a kid growing up and you tried to express a need or something you were uncomfortable with or something you didn't like, and you learned that expressing your needs isn't gonna get anything done. Maybe your parents punish you or they ignore you and they just say, just deal with it. So that's what a lot of people learn to do. They learn to just deal with it. Instead of expressing how they feel about things, they just deal with it. And so we don't tell people what we're even thinking a lot of the time. So we want to be seen, but at the same time, we're afraid of being seen because we don't feel so good about ourselves because maybe growing up, we were vulnerable and people made fun of us, or we learned that it wasn't safe to be vulnerable. Like maybe you shared something with somebody and they made fun of you, or maybe you were bullied at school, or maybe you learned that you just have to hide who you really are because people don't care, because that's how you felt growing up. People treated you poorly. And so you're afraid to connect with people. Even though you're human and you still have that desire, as much as you might try and hide from it, you crave connection and you want to be seen by people. But a lot of people don't want to be seen by others because they don't want to look at themselves because they can't accept themselves. Some people feel very ashamed of who they are, and so they don't want to show other people who they are. They try to be someone for someone else. And that is just the biggest tragedy to me, trying to be someone for someone else. And this is something that I've done early on in my life. Trying to act certain ways, being a people pleaser, not trying to bother anyone. So you try to act the way that you think people will like, instead of actually being yourself. And so maybe you have a lot of friends, and people know that they can come to you for help and that you're just there and you will just make them feel good because you're a people pleaser and you just want people to like you, so you act that way. But you are acting that way. You're not actually being yourself. And so even if you have a bunch of friends, if you're at a party, you still don't feel connected to anyone because maybe you see them because they're letting you, but they don't see you because they're not seeing the real you. They're just seeing the you that you put up. They're seeing your social mask, the persona that you try to embody so that people will like you, because you feel ashamed about who you really are and you think that you should be different than you really are, so you don't show it to people. But you have to show it to people, and people can tell. Like, you have to trust people to a certain extent to be vulnerable with them. And when you don't do that, people trust you less. So when you don't trust others and you're not willing to be vulnerable, others will sense that, and they might not know exactly what's going on with you. In fact, they probably won't, so they'll just be left to do some guesswork. They're like, oh, this person seems friendly, but they don't really have a conversation with me. Maybe they don't like me, or something like that. But you have to learn to accept yourself for who you are and be that person in front of other people. So you hide who you really are because you're afraid, because you think that you shouldn't be that way, or you'll be made fun of, or people won't like it. But what's the point of living your life for other people? You should live life for you. And ultimately, when you stop caring about what other people think of you, that's when you'll build real connections, because the people who match with you are the ones who like who you really are. So there's no point having all these friends that like you because you act a certain way for them when you feel no connection and you're not really getting the social interaction that you desire, where you're actually being seen and having a real moment. So you need to be vulnerable and learn to accept yourself and allow yourself to be yourself for you, and don't try and be someone for other people. And now the inverse of this can also keep us from having real connections with people. So because you are highly judgmental of yourself and you don't act yourself in front of people, you're also highly judgmental of other people. And this is something you have to really be honest with and really examine yourself, the way that you judge others. And maybe you do have friendships, but you discount them because you're like, oh, this person isn't cool. This person will not validate me and build my ego and self-esteem because they don't have certain social status. Or they only love me because they're my family, or they're my childhood friend, or this or that. And we discount the connections that we do have because we feel like they're not valid, because we don't feel good about ourselves. And so we also can be really judgmental of others and not want to connect with them because we're judging them so hard. So we need to learn to stop judging ourselves and stop judging others and just be vulnerable, be authentic, and then the connections that resonate will come to you. Your vibe attracts your tribe. And so you have to actually give off your vibe in order to attract your tribe, and you have to be yourself. And there is one more reason why you might have trouble connecting with others, and I know a lot of people who watch my channel are very sensitive, or they identify as empaths, and you can feel the feelings of other people, and in a way, all humans do this. If you invest in anyone to any degree, you're going to care about them, and you're going to be concerned about them. So if other people have pain, you feel pain for them. You've got these mirror neurons in your brain that activate. So when someone else is going through pain, your mirror neurons activate and you feel that very same pain. Obviously not the exact same one, because how do we even know what it's like for them to feel their pain or you to feel your pain? But the point is, you're afraid to connect with people because you are afraid of feeling their pain. And that can be pretty scary. Like, maybe growing up or at some point in your life you had a relationship where someone was very dependent on you and they felt sad a lot, or they were just in pain a lot, and so you learn that having these social connections can lead to pain, so you can be afraid of dealing with people, and you're like, I'd rather just sit home alone and watch Netflix than deal with actual people, because people have problems and it hurts to hurt. So we need to overcome these fears that we have that come with connecting with people, of being vulnerable, of being authentic, of people not liking us, of us feeling the pain of other people. Because all these things will keep us from having that real connection, and it'll make you feel very, very lonely because you're not actually making a human connection with someone. So again, you have to learn to accept yourself and to be vulnerable and to stop living your life for other people and worrying about what other people think. You're just a person, you're just living your life, you're not doing anything wrong by being you. And I do have some videos on accepting yourself. If you'd like to check those out, I will link them right now. And so I'd like to leave you with a quote from Dr. Wayne Dyer, and he says, "You can't be lonely when you like the person that you're alone with." So we really do have to learn to enjoy our own company and be authentic and be ourselves so that we can be vulnerable in front of other people. Because being vulnerable is no joke. It is very difficult, it's very challenging in a world where many of us have grown up with toxic people or toxic beliefs about ourselves and not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy. But you are worthy, and you do deserve real meaningful friendships and real connections, and you can get them. Just remember to be vulnerable. Someone's got to be vulnerable first, and why not you? You might as well open up, because as many times as you might get hurt, we still, as humans, try again to make connections, because connection is what this life is all about. Building connections, having experiences, sharing love, and just enjoying our beautiful life journey. So, with that, I would just like to say much love to all of my allies out there. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you like the video, please give it a big old like, and if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please subscribe if you'd like to see some more videos, and I'll be seeing all of you beautiful people on the next video. Bye.